Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today, we're going to go over some sassy Reddit comments about people who have lost weight. And I am wearing the witch hat, I think, because I'm having like this weird crisis of the witch where I'm having a really hard time kind of like expressing that side or like expressing my anger and stuff. Like I'm very nervous about it for some reason, but I still feel really angry. So I'm like, I need to like use this, but also like channel it. So I think I might do some sassy comment or sassy videos this week because I kind of need an outlet, if that makes any sense. Okay. So this comment said, or this post says, why do some people who lose weight suddenly become mean and full of themselves? Random thought with a little flower next to it. I noticed a pattern with people I've known over the years who have lost a dramatic amount of weight. Not all, but a big majority suddenly gain big heads like they're don't stink. But by no means am I trying to put people down who have drastically changed their lives for the better. I take my hat off to those people. I'm just generally interested why the sudden cockiness. Has anyone else noticed this? Okay. So I want to answer this. And like I said, I don't know. I'm at tension. I have tension with my witchy side. I do. I'm at tension with my brathood a little bit. I'm struggling. But what I will say is I wonder if a lot of it is more so your impression of them. So I think there's a lot of people who, I think because of fat acceptance rhetoric, they are oftentimes believing that, thin privilege is a thing or this type of stuff. There's like a social strata of body sizes, these kinds of ideas. There's a lot of people who buy into that sort of thing. I buy into the idea that people are viewed differently based upon their size, but I don't buy into that one way is better or worse. I think it's just different. So, what I think it could be is it's maybe not so much that they changed, but it's that your impression of them changed because their size is different. And I think that that's because there are a lot of negative stereotypes that are applied to thin people or to muscular people. This does happen. For example, one of the most common ones is that if you have muscles, then you're also dumb. That's a thing, you know? And probably that you're full of yourself. That would probably be the other thing that's super, super common. Just as if you're fat, people may see you as lazy or like you're not taking care of yourself, basically, or kind of unkempt, if that makes any sense. Stereotypes exist across different sizes, and there are going to be perceptions that are there that are not always better or worse. They're not. So I do not buy into the body hierarchy, but I do buy into the stereotypes associated with different sizes, and there are problems. There are problems. But anyways, okay, that's my answer. Let's see what they say. So this person says, you're not yourself when you're hungry. This comment brought to you by Snickers and the good people at Mars. LOL. I found it's actually usually the other way around. Once the big person loses weight, the people around them have nothing to use against them. I think this is a great comment. This is very true, in my opinion. I don't know that it's that they have nothing to use, but I think there's probably some kind of gap or moment in time. There's a lot of people in society that are very controlling of other people, and they're constantly trying to apply different leverage against people. I'm not saying that as like any kind of accusation against anyone in particular. I'm just saying I think this is especially common in American culture. There is this desire to control how other people speak or think or feel. That's very strong in the United States. And so, what people will typically use is insults or things like that to kind of put somebody in their place. And I think that people often use fatness for that. So, when that's no longer there, then they have to find something else. And it can be harder, because maybe they have less to work with. But I would think that they would just find something after that. And they perceive a person happy with themselves as arrogant. This can happen too, I think, because a lot of people aren't happy with themselves. So there can be a jealous aspect to that as well. So I think that that can be at play when it's actually that you never thought anything of them when they were fat. Yeah, I agree with that one. It's the way they were treated before. So this is an interesting idea. I would say, I'm trying to think, because I've had a very, oh gosh, it's really weird. I feel like sometimes I don't really live up to the fat stereotypes. Sometimes I really do, and it's like a lot. It's like, oh gosh, but sometimes I don't. Like, for example, I was not really ever bullied for being fat. And the reason why, as you guys know, I'm the witch, right? Like, I'm kind of, I fight back, I do. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I fight back. So if people ever tried when I was in school, I would do it back, and quickly, at times viciously. So people learned quick that they weren't going to get that. They weren't going to get any kind of satisfaction. The other thing I was good at was I was very good at like not reacting whatsoever. Because I have like that internal cuntitude basically, where like I remember one time I was in high school and these two guys, they were throwing rocks at me, like little tiny stones, like pebbles. They were throwing them at me and I felt them, but they were super, super tiny. So it's like you feel like almost like a little pinprick on your, like on the back, on my back and stuff when we were walking between classes and they were doing that. And I didn't react at all. Because I kind of figured out what they were doing and I just went into internal cuntitude mode and I just kept going like this. And they were like, oh my gosh. And they were so stupid. I could literally hear them talking about me behind my back. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, are we even hitting him? Or like, I don't know. Do I keep missing? Da, da, da. And I was like, and like, I laughed internally. So it's like, I just don't think I really, I don't know. I wasn't really bullied. Like, there were times when I almost was bullied in high school, like when I was a freshman. But if I ever felt like I was completely outmatched, I would magically avoid the person. Like, you don't even know. So I'd never give them an opportunity. If I saw them, like, I think I shared a locker next to somebody, and he was kind of trying to bully me. And I always made sure that he never saw me again after that, because I was like, I couldn't. Funnily enough, he was another fat guy. He was just way taller than me and just like very, like I could tell he was going to bully me basically. So I avoided him and it never happened. You see? Then I was good at laughing things off. I was good at, I was good at that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's just, this doesn't hit me the way I was treated before. How was I treated before? I think for me, it would probably be around the same. I don't know. So I don't know. You guys can let me know if that's something you relate to. Fear of going back to the bottom of social hierarchy, I presume. Many cases of bullying can be explained by that, actually. After you've experienced pretty privilege, life is not the same. You get treated as a person and want to keep it that way at all costs. So to me, this is a little bit dramatic. I do think there is some toxic ritualistic logic or mindsets in this. Remember, being thin is not being pretty. I know that that's harsh, but we're going to keep it a buck. We're keeping it real. The witch hat is on. I may be like conflicted with my witch, but the witch, I want you guys to understand, it's always there, babe. Always. If it's not coming out, it's because I'm like, oh, like I need to be a little gentler. Like I kind of have a feeling this time is a little challenging for people. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's a self control thing. It's not that it's not there. So I don't want to get canceled. Y'all can't cancel me later if I'm mean. I'm not going to be like that one girl I saw in Michelle McDaniel's video where she's like, I lost weight so that I could be mean with impunity. And I'm just like, okay, like that's not a thing. Nobody can be mean with impunity. That isn't it. If anything, you can kind of get away with being meaner when you're really, really huge. But for me, it's like I try to, I've always, I don't know, I'm kind of realizing something about myself, like literally tonight, that I have like a lot of bitch energy. I mean, I know that I had it, but I think, I don't know how to say this. I think I'm kind of an intense person. That's what I'm trying to say. And I knew I was, but I think when I look at other people, I'm really on an intensity level that's kind of like above average. I'll put it to you that way. And sometimes I need to be aware of that. So I'm trying to be okay, because I think that was a huge like trigger of mine, was I had like this kind of like energy and like rambunctiousness and brashness even, or even like obnoxia, which I know my mom watches. I think I got it from you. I got it from my mom. I did. Because my mom's the same way. So I have a little bit of that. I think maybe because I was raised by my mom who's like that. So I'm like, oh, like a lot of people aren't like that. So I'm trying to find a balance, I guess. But yeah, like point is, thin is not pretty. Just because you're thin doesn't mean that you're suddenly amazing looking. It's not the case. So again, we're going to cut that off from the toxic ritualistic mindset. As far as social hierarchy, I will say, like, in a lot of cases in the United States, at least, again, I'm speaking primarily from a US perspective, I think the biggest proponents of the social hierarchy of body size are actually fat acceptance activists. They constantly push it. They're constantly reinforcing it. I think the rest of the country kind of didn't want that anymore in a post-2015, kind of body positivity era. That kind of hierarchical thought process behind it was slowly going away. It's not going to go away in terms of like romantic attraction and things like that, but in terms of like, are you still a deserving human being because you're fat? That's a pretty mainstream concept. So, and I don't believe a romantic hierarchy, or I guess sexual hierarchy, is the same as a social hierarchy. It's totally different. If somebody wants to do you or not has nothing to do with your place in society, in my opinion. You can have a different opinion. That may be the case for you, but I think for most people, that is not the case, because most people are not trying to screw every single person in the world. So it's only relevant within a very certain context. Okay? I get it. I know people don't see it that way, but that's how I see it. So I don't agree with the social hierarchy aspect. It could be, there's a little bit of a trope of people who have lost weight who kind of like hoe out. So maybe that's what they're talking about. I could see some of that. I have actually known that, not throwing shade on anyone. It was more of a friend, but, I've seen that kind of thing. So that's a little different, but that could be like, again, I will always tell you guys, it's not that losing weight changes you. It's that it just reveals who you always were. If you wanted to be a hoe and you only couldn't be because you were fat and it limited your pool of hoe-ness, then when the weight is gone, then you're going to be a hoe. But you always were one. That's the thing. You always were. It never changed, just like me. I was always mean. If I suddenly lose weight, well, not suddenly, but I mean, I'm losing it. If I, one day, I'm just like, fuck it, I just want to be the witch today, y'all can't be surprised. I was mean when I was fat. I've been mean when I've lost the weight. I'm still mean now. I just don't show it as much. I'll still be mean when I'm thin. It's just a part of me, you know? So it's like, I don't know. I just think it gives you a confidence to kind of be who you are, kind of thing. I am mean, but I'm not evil. That's the difference. Like, I don't have absolutely no compassion or anything like that. I'm not like that, but I'm not like, I don't know. It's very difficult to emotionally manipulate me. I'll put it to you that way. It's difficult. I don't really go for that stuff. I don't go for it. That's why I can do this, you know, because they say these things and I'm like, no. So anyways, I don't agree with this. I do think that, I do think that people who are bullied can be bullied, though. I just don't know that every single fat person is bullied. That's the problem I have. I think it's too much of a generalization. But yes, I do agree that many cases of people who are bullied do end up becoming a bully. That can be the case. I agree with that. So that could explain it in that sense. Okay, moving on. Recently lost 18 pounds by eating correctly and exercising. I wasn't large by any means before, but I wanted to reach a healthy weight for me since I was so skinny as a teenager, and being 40 pounds more when I was majority of my young life, losing 18 of that is ideal for me. Assholes will be assholes, and losing weight just makes people more confident in themselves. And someone who was always an asshole inside suddenly will show it because they're no longer insecure. I think that's true. I think that's so real. So this person is like on point. I think that that's the case. I think too there is a perception that you can be mean with impunity as a thin person. I don't know, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to describe it, but I would say probably fortunately, I had thin friends who were mean and they did not have impunity. You know, I would say the people who can be mean with impunity are people who are extremely charismatic. Those are the people who can. If you don't have the riz, then you are not going to be able to be mean with impunity. It doesn't matter how good looking you are. It doesn't matter how in shape you are, how thin you are. You will still get backlash unless if you're like mega riz. That's my opinion. But yeah, whereas for me, I have that complicated relationship with the witch. You know, I've gone through phases where I buried the witch. They're very tied to my letter E followed by the letter D past. It was a massive trigger for me where I was just like, I feel like I'm so mean. I have to be nicer. I have to be nicer. Oh my gosh. Da, 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 da. That was a huge thing because a lot of times I'd want to say something kind of mean and instead I would eat. And I shit you not. That is literally probably one of the biggest triggers I had, which is kind of crazy. But, to each their own, right? It's like, that's why I really advocate for not being a people pleaser because, I don't know. Sometimes you can't help who you are. Like, I understand, like, of course I'm trying to refine it. I've always been trying to refine the inner bitch. I've always been trying to, but it's tough. It is tough. I don't know. I think it's always going to be there, honestly. And it's just about like, for me, it's been about trying to be productive, cause like when I stopped burying the witch, I just started going all over the place and I was like, shots fired, shots fired, shots fired, like all over, I'm like, let me go to war with everybody at the same time. And it was just too much. It was just a hot mess. And it's like, ooh, like over time I had to learn, like, ooh, no, 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 like, stop, stop, stop. And like, I have been using, this is really gay to say, but whatever. If it upsets y'all, I don't care. I have been using the astrology of this time, especially like last year and this year, to kind of learn how to be more peaceful or how to be like how to refine it better. But it's not my element, you know. It's like there's been a very large amount of Libra energy, which doesn't support being super argumentative or mean or that kind of stuff. And so I'm trying to use it to kind of develop this other side, which is more peaceful or empathetic, which you guys have appreciated and I've appreciated it. I do think it has helped my growth a lot. But it's like, you know, I'm like, I can be both. I can be empathetic and mean. Thank you very much. Okay? I have the right to be multifaceted. Okay. Anyways, for me, I just noticed myself being more like, hey, this food is healthy. If you want to be healthy, eat this. If not, cater to your dietary needs and other things I've learned from treating food as medicine instead of for pleasure. I do just want to dig into people who claim they can't lose weight, and when they clearly are, not even attempting to do more physical activity and consume better foods and eat less calorie dense meals or snacks. It's very simple. If you want to lose weight, either increase activity level or decrease calorie intake, you will slowly start losing weight. I've lost 18 pounds by simply eating at a deficit and exercising, and I'm talking about just walking 2+ miles a day, nothing crazy, and doing some basic push-ups, etc. So I think that this was actually a very reasonable comment. I'm going to give this one an A+. I think that it's very good. So let's see. Oh my God. Here we go. You guys ready? Okay. Regarding the last section, I received a lot of scorn from friends and acquaintances because no matter what I did, I gained weight, but everyone assumed I was a liar. 1,200 calorie diet, breakfast, protein shake, lunch protein bar. 1 hour at the gym twice a week became 2 hours 3 times a week. Eventually 3 hours 6 days a week on the treadmill, with 1.5 hours being 3 to 5 miles per hour, still gaining fat weight. Went through 2 doctors to get diagnosed with Hashimoto's. I was going to say, like, this is giving major hypo. My hypo alarms were ringing. I will say, though, I don't believe this. I don't. So I do think this person's lying about this. I do. I'm sorry. But anyways, I do believe the exercise and stuff. That I can believe. I just think it's probably not drastically higher, but it's probably higher than that, in my opinion. Went through 2 doctors to get diagnosed with Hashimoto's. First doctor who wouldn't believe the blood test and sent me off with the lowest dose possible to get me out. And can you believe it? Was still gaining fat weight, 2 pounds a week, tons of water puffiness that would randomly disappear for a day, then come back. Yeah, that's hypo. Honestly, life seemed bleak and no one would believe me. One of my closest friends said, maybe you should reduce calories below 1,200. That's not a good idea. So I wonder how they knew this was fat weight. That's the other issue I have with this comment. How is it fat weight? How do you know it was fat weight? Because if it was one of those scales, I'm about to get graphic. But this is an educational moment. We're just doing it here. My username is literally Graphically Alex. That's why, because I was graphic all the time when I was younger. So we're getting into it. I'm going back to my roots a bit, okay? When you're on one of those scales that have like the fat percentage type of thing, if you are full of poo, I'll be a little nicer for the demure girlies and boilies among us. If you're full of poo, it will register that as fat. So I think what was probably happening is you have Hashimoto's, so you're hypolicious. You may have been doing this 1,200 deficit, but it could be too low. And you're overtraining, so you're probably hella swollen. Because I swell even still now when I'm getting probably more towards a mild hypothyroidism. I still swell every time I go to the gym. every single time. And it's because you burned that fat. That fat has those, polyunsaturated fatty acids and way too high of a ratio due to seed oil consumption. I know it pisses people off when I say that, but I'm going to say it. So because of all the foods that you've been eating for years, when you burn that fat, it makes you swell. It also makes you more hypo temporarily. And so you swell. It also can slow down digestion, which means that you might be full of SHIT, which could register on a scale as fat weight. So you are probably burning fat, but you're swelling, which happens. This can also happen in the winter. I talk about this all the time for my hypo girly pops, hypo girlies and boilies. In the winter, if you're severely hypo, you will gain weight. I gained 20 pounds last December. It was water. It went away in January. It was completely seasonal, but it can happen. I know some people that are hypo and on their period, they gain so much water, drastic amounts of water, very, very, very high. And I think a lot of people can't even imagine how much water a fat person can put on, but it's a lot. So I'm just saying. Okay. Honestly, life seemed bleak. I already read that. Then last year, after having a foot in the coffin, health nosedived after temp working in snow shoveling. Ugh. And then everything has soy in Japan. I realized it was soy allergy. Also hypothyroidism. It's not good to eat the holy grail of soy that so many people will rush to defend. But when you are hypolicious, it is not a good food to eat, period. But yeah, people might not be lying when they say they can't lose weight. No, you're hypo. That's what that is. So you could lose weight. You probably still were, but it doesn't show. And I know that this is very complicated for some people, but it is a thing because there are many times where I was gaining and I just kept going anyways. And then it does come off later. It can come off in like a month, but it still will come off. A lot of times last year, I didn't talk as much about my fluctuations because I typically will just report like a new low kind of thing, but I fluctuate a lot. And last year, I had hella fluctuation, like around the midpoint of the month, like almost every like 15th or so of the month, I would swell up a lot and I'd gain like almost 8 pounds in the month. And then towards like the 20 something of the month, I would lose and it would all go off. And then I would have a new lowest weight. So you really cannot like worship the scale. If you're super morbidly obese or hypothyroid, you cannot, because it's not going to be like a consistent loss type of thing unless if you're doing like keto where you retain 0 water. With ketogenic, you don't retain any water at all. So that's different. But other than that, which I wouldn't suggest keto for somebody honestly super morbidly obese or hypothyroid, I wouldn't. But other than that, you're going to have a lot of water fluctuation throughout your weight loss. Okay, so let's continue. I kind of want to see what people said to that. Oh, they're just kind of agreeing. Yeah, so they're like, I'm curious, do you honestly believe you're putting on fat while eating few calories than you were burning? Or do you accept what you thought was a caloric deficit was in fact a surplus? This person believes that it was. Go look up Hashimoto's disease, lifetime of allergic reactions, caused early onset hypothyroidism, causing fat gain and goiter. Then the daily reactions themselves cause huge amounts of water swelling. I think it was water. I will still say it was water. Water. I think it was. But they're focusing on the number on the scale. So it can be, you got to be really careful, you guys. You got to be careful with that. Anyways, let's continue. I don't know, but I'm still fat. The world's a little better at the moment until I lose the extra fat on me belly. What? The world will be a little better at the moment until, I don't know what that person means. A lot of people who are bullied become bullies. Okay. I agree with that. Once you put in the hard work to accomplish something, it becomes hard to take people serious who aren't willing to do the same. Could be true. So you're saying I need to order a large meat pizza for the good of everyone I'm in. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Telling you, this was a trigger for me. Yes, the meanest bullies tend to be fat people who got skinny. Oh my gosh. No, that's stupid. I knew a guy who lost a lot of weight and got some muscles. He was on social media doing kind of fake inspirational posts about how he worked hard. All it takes is for people to work hard to get what they want. I loathe that kind of post because everybody's situation is fucking different. And your stupid little opinion about how you lost weight won't really help anyone else. Ooh, we got a witch over here. Mostly probably made others feel incapable. This is the toxic American culture I was talking about, by the way. Horrible. Disgusting. You have no idea how great it felt when I saw him gain weight and have a gut after Corona. I wanted to tell him, hey, anyone can achieve their goal. Ooh. Ugh. See, the thing with me, I may be a bitch, but I'm not a bitter bitch. This person is bitter. Oh my gosh. Woo, man. Must be a delight. You must be a frickin' delight. And I'm telling you, I don't want to fight right now, but I'm telling you, in the future, because I think the other thing too, like, this is another part of the weight loss. Okay, this is another part of it. I would not say that I'm as conflicted with the witch because the witch is gone. The witch will never be gone. I already told you guys. It's more so that losing weight it is like a job. It takes a lot of energy. And I don't have enough energy at times to lose the weight and to unleash the witch upon the world. And I think that's where I'm at right now. But it's like, I'm not always going to be losing weight, you know? But I try. I'm trying to, like, I guess just, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Whatever. You guys are going to watch it. You guys are going to see what happens. I told you. I've always tried to say the witch is still there. It's still there. It's still there. You know, because I do get comments sometimes like, you guys are like, oh my gosh, you're so empathetic. I'm like, yes. But the witch is also there too. And I'm telling you, if somebody comes at me like this, after I've lost the weight, I will be vicious. I can just assure you. Absolutely vicious. So, and these people, they tend to be some of the weakest people. And they do not know what they're messing with sometimes because I'm not a weak person. So I can tell you, I would never put up with somebody being that way towards me. Ever. Never, ever, ever. I don't think you should either. That's a nasty person. Nasty. The person I knew didn't even go on a diet. The person I knew didn't even go on diet or exercise. She had many surgeries and started an account on how to exercise to lose weight. That's not good. You always want to be honest. You always want to be honest about what you're doing. Always be transparent. Please. It really, really hurts the anti-FA side when you lie about what you're doing. It's very bad. This person said, I heard the miracle training programs find gym guys and do the after shot first and then pay them to go off the routine for a month or so. Your person is extra. I mean, there's a lot in the fitness sphere too. I have future streams planned with Eric because he's had some interactions with fitness influencers on Instagram and stuff, and he's actually bought some programs and stuff. So that is a future stream, but he's still currently in process of something. But we're going to go there. And I kind of am feeling like I want to do a sassy video with Eric really soon. So Eric's so mean. He's so much meaner than me, you guys. So I don't even know how me and Eric are friends because he's so mean. Anyways, so not true in my experience. I worked with a woman who did the Les Mills Body Revolution program, diet, physical PT sessions, hardcore for 2 years, lost like 50K to 110 pounds. She became a literal poster girl of their program, stopped the program, and put 60 kg back on. She's still the poster girl. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Okay. Being skinny doesn't mean your life is better. I lost weight due to illness, and people complimented me while I was very sick. That just shows how wrong it is to comment on other people's bodies, period. Unless you ask, you don't know if they lost the weight intentionally or not. So that's interesting. I think a lot of times people don't say it's good unless if you were already fat before. I'm just going to be real with that. So it's an interesting circumstance. I do agree you can lose weight for bad reasons. So I totally get that, but I can understand it. I don't completely agree with it, but I also can see what this person is saying. I don't know, though. The slim people I know, and myself included, haven't changed. Maybe some form of entitlement you are seeing, them believing they are better because they lost weight, which isn't true at all. Kindness has nothing to do with weight. Same with having a big heart, caring, and helping others. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people change all that much. I really don't. I think for me, a lot of the things that have changed has actually made me better. Like, I don't think of things as black and white, as super black and white like I used to. I'm not always in flight or fight. I'm more in control of like my behavior, and I'm more in control of my emotions and stuff. Um, like that's the kind of stuff that I notice, but it's like I still have the emotions. I still get angry, you know. I still have insecurities, or it's like I still have all this stuff. So it's like it doesn't really go away. It's just I can control it better, and I don't have to be like going wild. Does that make sense? All the time. I just don't. And when I was bigger, I did. Like I didn't have control. It was difficult. I'm down 25 pounds, but shifted a ton of fat to muscle. People are much nicer when you have a hard body. They're less nice when you're soft. That's interesting. I will have to see. I will have to see. I'll keep you posted. I wonder if one day I will do the video. People are so much nicer to me now that I'm thinner. I wonder if I'll do that. If it's true, I will tell you. I can tell you at this point, no, not true. Not true. Mm-mm. It's just different. I've had my visibility has flickered. So like super fat, I was very visible. People were nice and mean. Mid fat, invisible. Literal invisibility cloak. Small fat, people are less nice, but they're also like not as mean, but they're not nicer. So I'm like, no, that's not true. So I'll let you guys know how that goes the further I go. Maybe they're hangry, but on a serious note, I knew a girl who was obese for all her life, then lost all the weight. She noticed everyone treated her way better when she was thin, and it made her really resentful to realize she'd been treated badly before and people were only being nice to her for a superficial reason. See, this is the thing too. Like, I wonder how much of this is perception and how much is reality. Like, because it's difficult to process how you acted too. I could understand it in a romantic context, but other than that, I don't know. I don't know. I agree that it's different. I just think there are some ways that's better and some ways that's worse. I really do. That's what my instinct is telling me at this time. Now, what is better is the romantic prospects, obviously, as well as health and being able to function. It can affect your career in a positive way because you can work more. It can affect, different relationships better because you're more available, like both emotionally and physically. Like you can just be there. Like, for example, if you have kids, you can play with your kids easier than if you're really big, right? Like that's being physically present or like emotionally engaging and that kind of thing in a way that you wouldn't be able to before. You know what I'm saying? And that does make people treat you better too. It's also like, in my experience, I still have a massive inner bitch, but I can be much more strategic with my inner bitch. And so I get into less fights because I'm less messy. So does that mean that people are treating me better because I've lost weight? Maybe, but it's also I'm being less messy than when I was bigger. That's a big part of it because again, I was like, whereas now it's like I focus on the battle at hand and I stick to that battle I stick to it and I try to use that bitchitude in a constructive way, which is what I definitely recommend if you are a bitch. Try to be constructive. Don't just attack, 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 or just go for anything all the time and just be down for anything. You don't want, like, in terms of arguing with people and stuff, you don't want to be like that because you like waste all your energy and then you just look like a hot mess. But you don't have to get rid of that quality. You just have to like coach it and use it. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm working on. And I'm working on when not to fight and like practicing that kind of thing, because as I told you guys, I enjoy argumentation. But at this time where I feel weaker physically, I try not to as much because I'm trying to save my energy for, fighting this battle of losing the rest of the weight. It's more important. So again, it's a focusing aspect. But it's also like, not everyone's your enemy. Not everybody's out to get you. Like, yeah, there can be some people who are out to get you or who are your enemy, It's like, and yeah, fight them, I advocate for verbal fighting more than anything. I don't really advocate for violence at all because it's just bad on a lot of different levels. But, I I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? It's like you have to um, just be strategic. I think I've learned to be strategic. And that has helped a lot with people treating me better because if you're not always going at people, they're not usually coming back at you either. So you have to kind of like see, and if you're like a super, super sensitive girly pop and you're like out there and you're fighting everybody, then they're going to be fighting you back. And I feel like sometimes that's how this girl might have been that way, and I'm going to view it from a different perspective because I don't go along with the narrative that every single fat person is a nice person. I just don't believe that. I'm not. I am fat and I'm not. And I know a lot of fat people who are very vicious. There are a lot of fat people like Samira, for example. She is a very vicious fat person. Marissa Matthews, she's had vicious eras. I don't think she's as bad now, but she's had those eras, where she's been really bad. And there's so many other ones that are just, they can be vicious, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, every fat person is so nice. It's like, no. The truth is, like, if Samira were to lose the weight, she would still be mean. She would be. It's a part of your personality, It's how it is. Weight loss, it's about health. It's not about personality work, okay? It's about health. And I highly suggest working on any psychological issues and that kind of stuff as you're losing the weight. It can be good for that. But you should do that anyways, even if you're not losing weight, Like, I don't know. That's kind of just being a human being and growing up and stuff. Like, learning how to kind of guide my inner bitch and utilize that energy that I have in a positive way and in a constructive way so I'm not undermining myself. That's been a huge journey, especially this year. And it's been a huge part of my recovery because I can't and shouldn't get rid of that part of myself, but I need to integrate that part of myself in a way where it's constructive. And I do feel like I'm getting there. So, one more comment and then we're going to go. Are you sure you're not mistaking their cockiness for confidence? Or perhaps you're projecting your own insecurities and mistaking what they say? As Ryan Gibbons said, if you meet an asshole in the morning, you met an asshole. If you meet assholes all day, you're the asshole. Interesting. Oh, there's more. Maybe I should do another video where I look at this more in the future. But anyways, you guys, I'm going to end this one here. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you'd be interested in me doing a part 2 to this. But I will talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Peace.